All right, so ladies and gentlemen, I'll quickly introduce the topic for all of you once again, and then I'll be calling our respected moderator and then our speakers. We have the topic right now. It is the Storytellers Weaving Magic on OTT. For this, to moderate this session, we have with us Priyanka Sinha, co-founder, Talkietive Content Creators. Please give her a big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, as she joins us over here on stage. Give it up for Priyanka, ma'am, please. And she'll be joined on stage by Tejkarran Singh Bajaj, Head Originals from Geo Studios. Give him a big round of applause, please, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. We also have with us the legendary Prahlad Kakar, sir, creative producer from Kaans. And just a request, if we can have a standing ovation for sir as well, because he's truly been a legend of the finest form. So thank you so much, sir, for joining us and being with us over here. It's a pleasure and privilege to have you with us over here. Thank you. We also have with us Namit Sharma, CEO, Arre Studio. Give Namit sir a big round of applause, please. Thank you. We also have with us Gurmmeet Singh, film and series director, producer. Man, OG, everybody loves this work, right? We can't wait for new seasons every time. I'll also request Suparna, Varma, writer, director and producer to kindly join us over here on stage as well, please. We also have Swati Patnaik, creative director from Applause Entertainment over here with us. Thank you. And we also have with us Mohan, Gopinath, head Bollywood business, Shemaroo Entertainment Limited. Give it up for Mr. Mohan, please, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Wow, a panel comprising of 8 individuals, all stalwarts. Just one clap collectively for the entire panel, please, ladies and gentlemen. You don't get these people, all of them together. Very difficult to manage times and schedules, but thank you so much, and over to you now, ma'am. Please take it forward.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Very excited to be here. IWMBuzz Fest is always a great place to be at. And when I came to know I have this fantastic panel of a very heady panel. I was really looking forward to it. And in fact, one of the panelists, Namit, said, "Hum log kya karne wale hain?" And I said, "Nothing, we're just going to have some cake and champagne, probably." Hai na? Lungi dance, you would dress for the occasion. And in fact, I said, when I asked the organizers, they said, "No, champagne ki koi zarurat nahi hai. Prahlad Kakar is on the panel." So it's going to be like a great conversation about creativity, storytelling, and all of that. So without much ado, I'm going to start off with my first question, which is, how do you create the OTT magic? And I'll address it to specific people in the beginning, and then, of course, panelists can jump in. How do you create OTT magic? Also, because as Swati and I were just talking, that there's so much data, there's algorithm to, tell you what is working, not working. Is that really helpful in creating the magic or not? So that's a question that's been weighing on my mind. I'm going to start with Gurmmeet. What do you say, Gurmmeet? You've had Mirzapur to your credit amongst many other very memorable movies and shows. So tell us a little bit about it. How does it work with algorithms and so much data that comes that's given to you and say this has worked, and how do you navigate that?
I think you create magic by ignorance. I think that's been the best. And it's actually gotten tougher as more data started to come in. When things started in OTT, there weren't any mandates as to what we needed to make or what we needed to achieve. I think that was a much more fruitful time for everyone. And now I think, of course, everything has a sort of adjustment and takes time to balance out. And like you said, there is now a 7-8 years period where we have data of what shows have done better than the others, or what have tracked better, which have better completion rates, a lot of other parameters that are thrown at us every time. But that has also led to maybe many more shows doing decently okay, but nothing breaking through. Because we're trying to either fit something into a format or ape something that's already existing. So we're not trying to push the boundary or find something else. So as with anything, higher the risk, higher the reward. So I think, and this can, the marriage of sort of both approaches is what will work. Of course, you need the data. It is a business, so you will need to have some formulas in place. But I think the leadership in the platforms that exist, they need to also be leaning towards content and need to have their personal judgment as to what they're going to bank on. Because they will need to find stories or shows that they may not be able to bracket or put into a box, but they'll have to go with their gut feeling that, okay, this can actually be the next sort of cutting through show that's available.
Right. In fact, a couple of shows that people often talk about in the OTT space and, as pure gold in terms of content, Breaking Bad, of course, and also House of Cards that Netflix sort of started out with great success. Now, one was like, House of Cards, apparently a lot of data supported that a show like that would perhaps work for them. But Breaking Bad came from the minds of creators who were at that point doing nothing much, and so they came upon, just jamming, they came upon this idea, what if while you're doing nothing, you were to start selling drugs to survive kind of thing, and then that was the germ of an idea, and it just grew from there, right? Two very different approaches. What really works, and can we actually, with all this, technology, can we actually predict that something's going to work? Like House of Cards probably is an example, but Prahlad, I'm going to ask you this because you did a lot of this in advertising way before we were aided so much with technology, with your Dil Mange More, nothing official about it, all those kind of ads which were very unique.
See, I believe that all formulas, regardless of what they are, any system that is forced on creativity is actually to cover your ass.
Here, here.
So, when management does not want to take responsibility for green lighting or accepting an idea which they think has a germ, all you're doing really is covering your ass by saying we followed a formula and it didn't work. And so you have something to blame. In the old days, we used to blame it on research. Because research said this is going to work and it's not going to work. The fact is that what we found out in advertising was 9 times out of 10, research tells you wrong. 9 times out of 10. So what we're talking about in television, especially, is virality. What makes something viral? What grabs you in terms of your imagination? How do you identify or even watch something that you would not ever be identified with? Why do you watch it? It is because it's original, because there's no formula. And what happened with formula? Our Hindi movie industry follows formulas. And the television industry, like headless chickens, have started following the Hindi movie industry. What is the ratio of success in a Hindi movie? 20 films are made, of which 1 is a hit, 5 recover their money, and the rest flop and vanish without a trace. Is that the formula that we actually believe in as OTT? How can you? How can you follow a formula like the Hindi movies and looking at stars from Hindi movies and looking at the format of Hindi movies in a program which is intimate? You're not watching it on a big screen. You're watching it in your drawing room. That television set is a part of your family. You cannot address a group of people from television. You can address every individual person in that room. And there's a level of intimacy. So what is really the only criteria in terms of what you follow is more is less on television. On films, more, everybody thinks louder you are, the more colorful you are, the bigger you are, the more exaggerated everything is, and however theatrical it might be, is actually what works. It doesn't. And it's proven again and again that it does not work. But television is intimate. Less is more. Less has always been more. So you are less loud but more intense. You are less adbhut and more real. Your people are real people. They're not just good-looking people, who can't act. You need actors on television. You can get away with non-actors on films, but you cannot get away on television. So you need really good performers. And the responsibility of channels of who takes decisions. Who do you empower to take decisions? You get a trainee who starts interfering in the creative process. What experience do they have? Versus a production house which has got, say, 10 years of experience of making whatever they're making. Bad, good, irrelevant. But at least they know their fundas. So how does a channel decide on where to interfere and where not to? Who is competent enough to do that? And we are in a mess today because of that. And I'll tell you something, Priyanka just talked about international hits. Let's talk about Indian content. It sucks. Because there's too much interference. There's no purity of thought. There's no courage to back something and say, we back this 100% the way it is. Nobody wants to take responsibility for the end product until it works. When it works, everybody is there in the photograph. But when it not work, everybody said, we researched it, we did this, we did that, we tried to tweak it, we told them it was not going to work. All sorts of bullshit. There is no sense of responsibility in the OTT medium today because nobody is willing to take responsibility except the production house. They're the only one who are taking responsibility. Nobody else is taking responsibility.
So Prahlad, you made a very important point, and it's great, great to debate that over here. I'm going to ask Tejkarran and Swati, in terms of stars, right? How much, and Namit, I'm going to come to you a little later, and all of you actually, about nurturing great ideas and great content. So Swati and Tejkarran, tell me, do stars really bring in any value any longer in the OTT format of storytelling, as Prahlad is saying that, people resort to these easy tricks because just to cover their ass, pardon my French, but it doesn't really give any result. So I'd like your views on that.
If your content is weak, obviously it's not going to give you result. You can put whoever you want on there.
So let's hear your version on that.
See, I'll talk about what we do. Okay, so we are a studio and we like taking big risks. So we are not dependent on any platform to commission shows like what Applause does. And the reality is, over the last 5 years, we have invested in 20, 25 shows. And these in the entire industry knows, these are not cheap shows. Our next show is with Gurmmeet. Gurmmeet is directing, Namit is co-producing, and Suparna has also written it. So what we believe as a studio is to back big ideas and then back them fully. And that's where what Sir said, that's what our conviction is. But the reality is, only 2-3 companies are there who are investing their own money. Otherwise, they take money from the platforms and they invest it. But when you speak about who's walking the talk, we are doing that, right? Because we are investing our own money, which is risk. And if you see the kind of movies that we do, Stree, Article 370, Lapata Ladies, these all are movies which no other studio would have put their hands on, even Shaitan, right? If you talk about the shows that we are doing, like what you said, I believe there is no formula. As a studio, we believe in creating worlds. So we are doing a show called Union, which is based in 1947. It talks about how India came together. And Sir has also seen parts of it. When he came to our office last time, I showed some parts of it. We are doing a show with Prakash Jha, when Nana Patekar is doing his debut. It's a political thriller. We have done a show with Raftar, where he played a music star in the show. We are doing the show that we are doing with them. It's based in the opium industry, but the world is very different. It's based in Bhopal. So what I'm trying to say is we take risks and we invest in content where we believe which will do well. But in India, we need many more companies like that. If Sir says that he would like to create a content, I would urge him to please spend some 15, 20 crores, 25 crores in making that show. So once he makes that show, then it will be what he wants to do. Because if he is going to a platform and asking for money, then you have to go with who's putting the money behind it. I am not going to put my money, I'm not going to put a 50 crore money and then say, okay, you can do whatever you like. That's not how it works. If you need to produce, if you need to put your creativity out there, put money. If you put money, then it's your product. If you don't, then it's a secondary story altogether.
Okay, so if you want to go your creative way, then put in your money out there. Swati, I want to ask you, you had, Applause had Scam 92 with Pratik Gandhi, one of the most universal successes in recent times, and local content, not an adaptation, so to speak, right? What does that tell us? And is that something that you're going to, sort of keep as a model even for the future, or are you going to diverge and take the slightly risk-averse route?
No, let me add something to this. Applause as a track record has had more successes than failures. And that's quite amazing in this business. Because the average is like the Hindi movie industry, 1 out of 10 returns is money. But Applause as a particular company, and theirs also, is because they're not risk averse. And that's the difference.
So being less risk averse is better for creativity?
Risk taking. You are in a business which is risky. How can you be risk
So have the
averse?
appetite for risk.
Yes.
Okay, that's, Swati.
So I'm glad you brought up scam actually. The fact that some of the universally successful shows locally don't have big stars, right? Pratik was a star perhaps in Gujarat, wouldn't have had the access to Pan India. And if you realize, the story was the hero. He fitted well into the character. Coming back to the point of risk averse, actually, it's the demand of the story. Whether you need to cast someone who's a dead banger looking, or someone who fits the role, or do you need a star? I mean, there is no formula to that, right? I produce a show called Andeki. Its 3rd season's done. Surya Sharma, right? We cast him out of Hostages. Today he's a big star, and these are the risks that you take. But honestly, it goes back to the story. The story is the hero. It is the cultural zeitgeist that you put in the story. It is the world that you create. That's what will demand the cast of it. It is the creator, it is the thought of the creator who is a part of this whole thing. And thank you, Prahlad, for saying that Applause is done well. I mean, we in fact have the track record of having multiple seasons of a single show. We are on to the 4th season right now of Criminal Justice, which are now original stories we are producing. Because Criminal Justice internationally has had only 2 seasons. Season 3 and 4 are all original stories. So that's something that we absolutely take pride in. So just coming back to your point, I don't think there's a formulaic answer to this. It really is the story is the hero. If the story demands a certain kind of cast, you cast. Sometimes the story demands someone who needs to look closer to the person you're casting to, if it's a biopic that you're trying to do. So that would be my point of view on this.
Okay. Namit, I want to ask you that being a production house, and you've had 2 very successful shows, not just in terms of numbers of course were there, but they were also great quality content, which is Masoom, and you had Sultan of Delhi. How, as a production house, how do you sort of nurture the storytelling process, where there are so many tugs, so many considerations from different stakeholders, right? You need to keep the creative voice at the forefront, but at the same time, as Tejkarran was saying, somebody is putting in their money, they want something. How do you do that? And how do you make sure that talent and good storytelling doesn't suffer in this process?
It's a delicate dance, and before I go to how, because there is no real answer, I just want to underline that in the last 10 years that I've been doing this, I'm on my 4th blood pressure pill. So we are 4 BP pills in a day. Jokes apart, I think coming from what Prahlad was saying and years of experience in pretty much the same dance, right? Where the forces of, creative forces versus market forces versus research forces versus result. And that's, whether it's ad filmmaking, whether it's feature films in studios, whether it's TV producers versus TV broadcasters, and now the same dance in digital. I think all of us sort of balance each other out on most of our days. And essentially it's about people management. It's about nurturing relationships where you build. As a producer, I think that's one of the biggest things that I have to do is nurture relationships, build trust, deliver to that trust, most importantly. At the same time, form a team between client, writer, director, actors that works towards never dropping the ball. I'm very happy that 99% of the time, we've never been in a situation where we've had to sit down and say, fuck it, let's compromise the product, dekha jayega, because someone said this about data, insight or whatever. More often than not, one is, God has been kind, I guess, and one has had trust from all stakeholders. Because at the end of the day, like Tej said, and I think it's a very valid point, that jo paisa dal raha hai, he will have a voice, And a master like Prahlad, the master craftsman like him, very senior and talented directors like Guru, Suparna, also know how to navigate that conversation. It's just about that day and that conversation about putting your point through in the best possible way and eventually delivering a great product without dropping the ball. And I think it works. My key is always surrounding myself with a team that I can trust and that trusts me. If you can build a team on every project, including the client, and sometimes I walked away from business. I walked away, I'm sure Sir has too, right? We've all walked away on those days where you feel that this person is going to push me into a corner to compromise and create something that I don't want to put my name to. I walk away on day one. I don't walk away on day 100. That's unprofessional, right? On day one, I sniff around and I get a sense that I don't think this is going to work out. Okay, we'll walk away, we'll find work and business and we'll build something else. I think as a producer, that's my sort of checklist. Build a team that we can trust and work with.
Even as producers, the responsibility that you all carry is very rarely put out. Because I'll tell you something, in my days, even now, I believe that when a producer disagrees on a basic creative formula, he takes guarantee for his opinion.
Yeah.
And he turns around and says, if it doesn't work, I'll redo it at my cost, free to you, if it doesn't work. But I believe so much that this is going to work, that I'm going to do it my way, not your way.
But the producer can only do that, and they only do it when they know that they have the backing of their entire team. That their team is not going to come back and say, no, we don't have time or we don't have the inclination to do this. No, if you build, it's about building a trust universe in that sense, right? Where you can, an ecosystem, where you can continue, like I've been sort of fortunate enough to, have 2 series with Gurmmeet, multiple shows with Supan here, show with Tej as well, and hopefully something with Swati soon. But the fact of the matter is that when you walk into a room with client, writer, director, 9 times out of 10, it should work out if the team believes they're working towards the same goal, which is of making a great show. Whatever happens to the show is the fate of the show. Nobody knows what's going to happen. But the key is
Team
trust.
build.
Absolutely.
So that's an important takeaway, actually. Creating this whole ecosystem of creative culture and trust and conviction.
Responsibility.
Absolutely. So accountability that.
The fact that finally everybody is pointing fingers at everybody else.
Correct.
You didn't listen to me. I said this. You said this. Bullshit. It finally rests with the producer. Period.
That's true, and I think that's what makes Namit quite, exactly as you're saying, he takes responsibility for the choices he makes, which I understand through personal experience, that, you come across many concepts, ideas, etc., but I have known him to be a person who shows that integrity, and therefore that
passion.
helps you build that trust, because nobody's going to trust somebody who has no conviction and who keeps, changing his mind or her mind with every
becomes
second
commerce.
person. Yeah.
Because this is a creative process, there's nothing to do with commerce.
That's true. Super, I'm coming to you on this now. Diverging a little bit so that we cover more ground. as a creative person, do you find that there is any particular genre that seems to work better on OTTs in your experience? You've done The Family Man, which was a huge success, and among many other things. But I'm mentioning Family Man because, you know, it's been such a widely viewed show. And has that also created this thing that let's do another show like The Family Man? Do people, I mean, of course, you must be getting a lot of that, but even other people get a lot of that, ki kuch us type ka hai, to batao, dikhao, sunao, kind of thing. How healthy is that? As a creative person, how do you find that?
Sure. So the best thing about, excuse me, OTT is this, that unlike films, right, where one film works, an animal works, everybody will then be trying to make 10 animals, or, you know, any film that works, we try to kind of follow the herd. With OTT, you are creating worlds which are unique by themselves. The minute we make a Family Man, we make a Rana Naidu, or a Sultan of Delhi, or a Trial, every other platform tries not to make anything in that zone, because a couple of things happen, right? On OTT, the audiences follow worlds, they follow characters, and the minute people start repeating that, that won't work. Rather, the whole focus on OTT is creating original stories, original characters, and in that sense, I think OTT has really empowered storytellers to dig deep and go down to literature. Because now you're adapting books, you're adapting literature, you're adapting folklore, you're going down to real life stories, stuff that films did not. It's interesting that for a long time, Hindi films especially, unlike films in Kannada, Malayalam or Tamil, which was steeped in their local culture, Hindi films for the long time, I think Anurag Kashyap said it best that these are all trial show, films, because we work in a certain spectrum of society where everything is city-based, or your reference point for any story in films was the previous film, which is Satya mein underworld waisa dikhta hai, so the underworld looks like this. Not realizing there is much more to it. A sharpshooter is Ab Tak Chhappan. That became your reference point. Films became a reference point. On OTT, you have researchers, you have articles, you have novels, which you dig deep in. You follow real life characters, and that creates a completely unique space. When we produced Sirf Ek Banda Kafi Hai, we kind of got the rights of P.C. Solanki, right, in a small town lawyer in Rajasthan, and it's a unique space. Our reference was not Damini, where Tariq Pe Tariq. That was not the film. So those are the various ways where OTT has completely changed the landscape of storytelling, and that has impacted films. So now Hindi films, a whole lot of it which were created during the COVID period, which was a different vacuum, have now released. The next wave, and I'm talking about Hindi cinema in particular, because I think films in South caught on to that wave earlier, they adapted and changed. We are now in the process of changing, where we realize the audiences have really advanced in those 2-3 years, where they've been exposed to the best of shows. They have seen dubbed shows, K-pop, not K-pop, sorry, South Korean shows have taken off. We are watching shows with subtitles. We have been exposed to cinema from the South on YouTube with Hindi dubs or subtitles. So people are now going to stop at least making less adaptations from the South and having more thrust out here. So that's completely changed. There is something that I want to address that Prahlad spoke about earlier, which is data. And I'll tell you how it impacts
Yes,
us
please.
per se. Is that when we go to platforms, they are coming from data research and stuff. But understand one thing about data. Data is what's happened in the past. It's giving you stuff of this work, this work, this work, or this is working there. It's not telling you what's happening in the future. Otherwise, you won't have a show like a Kora, which is a slow burn, or a fast-paced show. You can give me examples of Night Manager. You can give me examples of Night Agent, whatever example, right? But that's already happened. You're not predicting what's going to happen next. You need to be clutter breaking. So rather than what has worked and being in that zone, you need to be thinking one step ahead always, because society is changing. Virality is also now. You don't know what's going to go viral in the next 6 months from now. So, influencers keep changing every 6 months. Urfi shows working today. Urfi you may have someone different. Ori is the flavor of the season today. 1 year from now, nobody knows. So you need to, one, come up with original ideas with your heart and soul in it. And if that works, it's going to work with the audiences as well. And, yes, I personally believe in this, that my job per se is not just selling stories, also people management, which Namit spoke about, platforms, which are technically our patrons of the art, right? It's about navigating them. There are, a lot of expectations they have. They have certain shows and films to create. And I see them as collaborators and partners and not as the enemy. They are here to kind of help us. And if I can align them to my vision or understand what their vision or what their intent is, because one thing I realize in life is not every executive can give you the correct feedback word to word. But if I can understand their intent, and sometimes it could be just one line that changes everything. And once you understand that, you navigate better, you work better as a team. Right. And instead of seeing us versus them, because they also have jobs, they also have, stuff to kind of mandates to meet. And if we work well together, I think we can kind of all get our way together to two answers in one.
No, thank you. Thank you for that. Mohan, I'm coming to you. I think in, all of this, Amir Khan at one point, because he's so particular about his creative choices, we'd asked him once about how he makes the choices. Does he take into consideration what other people tell him? Because he used to have this screening for a select group of people before, So he said, see, what I do is that I understand, I'm not changing the story that I want to tell. That's the story that I want to tell. But yes, when I show it to people, what I try to understand is that am I being able to convey or tell that story effectively the way, what I want to convey or not? Is that coming across to people or not? I don't start changing my characters and story just because somebody didn't get it or didn't like it. I just feel that, okay, I want this to be likable. Now, how do I do it if it's not coming across as likable, And I think that's $1 million sort of advice, if you will, or template to follow. Because if you keep trying to change everything as per the demand, it can be quite counterproductive in my experience, It's like you end up carrying the donkey on your head, but Mohan, coming to you, movies. Shemaroo has this fantastic, library and collection of movies for many years, decades now. What are the challenges in the movie business, and especially when you can release a film straight on an OTT and the theatrical business is not doing well, the movies are not keeping pace with people's expectations. What is the way forward there? What are your observations?
Before I go on to the answer, I think a prerequisite of any creator, of any person involved in the creative field is observation. There are stories all around. In fact, when I walked in, I don't know the name of the gentleman who was introducing us to the chairs, but unwittingly he sounded like Hrithik Roshan. So, मेरा mind तो वहीं से चालू हो गया. अरे यार ये तो मतलब ऋतिक का भाई है ये. So that's how it is. You start observing little nuggets around you. And movie business, I think a lot of hype around Hindi films not working and all that. It goes along in a phase. मतलब जब VCR आए थे तो हिंदी इंडस्ट्री इज डूम्ड, देन DVDs आए तो हिंदी इंडस्ट्री, every technology learns to coexist with the certain things.
Sorry to interrupt you, but I think most times if you go back, you'll see that the business doesn't work or the movies are not working. Those phases come when the content is not strong, isn't it?
I would rather give another piece of statistics, since data seems to be the flavor of the day. कि होता क्या है कि जब हम पीछे देखते हैं ना तब सब रोज ही लगता है. You are seeing it with a 2020 vision. बकवास तब भी बनती थी. 1950s is the golden era of cinema, 10% success rate. In the 50s, 60s, you see Lost and Found in the 70s, सिर्फ 10% है. As long as you're maintaining the averages, it's like a mutual fund. आप 10% दे रहे हो तो you're a good analyst. तो एक साल में अगर 250 हिंदी पिक्चरें बन रही है और 25 अपना रिकवर कर रही हैं मनीज. The reason why I'm talking in Hindi is also I want to hit upon a fundamental stuff. बहुत कम लोग हैं जो देवनागरी पढ़ पाते हैं.
हाँ, वो रोमन में.
I'll tell you the narrative of how a meeting goes with the platform as well as with the creator. पहला बार आता है 4 बजे, सिर्फ 4:15 तक का टाइम होता है उस बेचारे के पास. आप 1 लाइन बताइए, उसके ऊपर वो डिसाइड करेगा. उसके बाद 1 पेजर आता है, उसके बाद 10 पेज आता है, फ्लैशिंग आउट ऑफ द कैरेक्टर्स, ब्रांड बाइबल होता है, एंड एवरीथिंग इज रिटन इन रोमन इंग्लिश. अगर देवनागरी में मैं पढ़ने बैठूं तो 15 मिनट में मैं अपना मोबाइल सर्फ करने लग जाऊंगा. When you're attacking Hindi sensibilities with a Western mind, the problem starts there. Issue ये है कि there are no problem children, there are problem parents. 18-year-old, 20-year-olds who are going to IB schools, उनको हिंदी कतई पता ही नहीं है. और वो 4 साल में मास मीडिया में उतरने वाले जिनको हिंदी प्रॉवर्ब भी नहीं, हाथ कंगन को आरसी क्या, पढ़े लिखे को फारसी क्या. He wouldn't know a jack shit about what I'm saying.
Very important point that you're making, that would you say that the regional movies are doing better because there is that connect with the language?
It is not about the connect
Is
with
that
the
one of the
audience.
reasons? So
With the audience, it is about the language being spoken at home.
I'm talking about the language.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
you know, is
absolutely.
it because the makers, the creators have a deeper connect with the language and therefore it translates and gets captured in the content? That's my
The
question.
asterisk of a language barrier in Tamil Nadu, Malayalam is their very strength. कोई हिंदी वाला अभी तक उधर.
I just want to jump in with this and I mean, I'm partly agree and I partly disagree. I'll tell you
Okay.
two parts to this discussion. One, yes, language is key. You want to be a Hindi actor, then understand the leza.
The
Don't
nuance
be
and
speaking with an
leza.
accent in the first place, right? You want to be a writer, understand the language. But at the same time, understand one thing, when it comes to executives and reading in English, executives come from all across India. They don't just come from the Hindi heartland in the first place. You don't need to understand Hindi to understand story form or Indianness per se as such. So English becomes that common language per se. Hindi dialogues. If, for example, your creative person is from a state which does not have Hindi as its language, will read Roman like Raj and DK, right? They are not native Indians. They do Hindi shows. They understand Roman. They may not know the Lipi, although DK understands Sanskrit as well. There's a different story. But fact is this, that they still made the effort to learn Hindi. I am today working in South. I am doing Telugu. I don't understand the language. But the same dialogue written in Roman, I know what is being said and I have a context to that. When we did Family Man 2, we had Sinhalese Tamil. We had Tamil in it. We wrote it in English. It allowed me, as a creator, as a director, to kind of understand what is being said because language is common there. So, part of it I agree with. Part of it, I'm just saying there's a nuanced answer to it that English serves as a common, language to everyone to understand. Because the world has changed and India is technically not one country. It was various different countries brought together. So we keep our culture alive with one common language, which is not, Hindi is not a national language per se, right? But English binds us together. That helps us. But when you're, making as a writer, if you're writing dialogues, you need to understand Hindi. As an actor, you need to know Hindi. That is the basic tenet of the fact.
Right.
You can't not know the language. But as an executive, I think I would allow, that difference to exist because it makes you understand what is being said. So that's my 2 cents to it.
Mohan, coming to you, your last word. They have a ticking clock to remind us right in front of us. So tell us, what is it that movies need to do now to get back their mojo? Whether it's on OTT or theatrical, it doesn't
I
matter.
think it's the churn. I mean, pre-COVID, post-COVID, the entire differential. पहली बात तो यार, we are all yearning for good music. I think great music happened, which is the biggest draw. Tauba Tauba got people into the theaters and did a 70 crore business. Music still rings in your ears. 2013, Ye Jawani Diwani is the last complete album. उसके बाद तो lip sync ही बंद हो गया. So when you don't have people, I mean, you remember a Raj Kapoor, you don't remember his movie per se, or a Dilip Kumar or an Amitabh Bachchan, the songs resonate in your ears,
Yeah,
and that
they're
is the way to
timeless.
keep it alive. So I think one of the fundamentals that we have forgotten because of the albums and the playlists and all that stuff. Plus, you are in a box. अगर आप किशोर कुमार सुन रहे हो तो जिंदगी भर Spotify आपको मोहम्मद रफ़ी नहीं देगा. So whereas our horizons were Vivid Bharati. आप तलत महबूब भी सुनते थे, हेमंत कुमार भी सुनते थे. So expand that stuff and listen to a lot of things and be observant. So I think in the film industry will bounce back. It's like a phoenix from the ashes. There's no need to hit the alarm bells right off now. The percentages are working well.
Wonderful. That's an optimistic note and time's up. Prahlad, last
I
word.
believe the real observation is that there's a lot of creative content which is going from OTT into movies. Now, what that is improving is that it is breaking the formula down. If you follow a formula, you are stuck in time because you don't progress. So what is happening with OTT is because the writers are given so much more importance in OTT than writers are given in the film industry. We are getting a transition of ideating going from OTT to films, and though the canvas in films is much bigger, and therefore it should be, the fact is that there is no rein on imagination. And the gene pool of OTT writers is far superior than the gene pool of feature film writers. I believe that.
Thank you for that. In fact, it's interesting, you worked on some like very arty films with Shyam Babu, right? And
They were not arty films, you know, they were actually very real films.
real, but like, you know,
I saw,
that time that
I saw
realism was
Manthan
considered-
again after
Yeah.
25 years, and it's so relevant.
Correct. So now I think the scope for that kind of content has expanded because the audience is also, you know, getting it
Much
in
more
their
sophisticated.
space, and I think that helps things a lot.
But they're watching so much more international content from Korea, from the Europe, from America, from everywhere, that their tastes have also become much more
Evolved.
sophisticated. Yeah.
So just one.
Yes.
My last point is about
Please.
sophistication, about RT. My only thing is 3 has just crossed 500 crores. There's nothing arty about it. It's pure play commercial, pure play masala, pure play different world, VFX experience and the cinematic experience. So yes, Indian film industry is not dead. We have just crossed 500 crores. Our next movie is Singham. We are looking forward to it. And till the time we tell great stories, till the time we give their cinematic experience, till the time... See, OTT is different, film is different. For film, people want to come spend those 500 rupees per ticket for a cinematic experience. They want to spend money on what they can't see at home. So that's what we need to keep in
experience
mind.
of it,
Yeah, the
absolutely.
experience.
Yeah. Anyone else wants to
Yeah.
make a point, and then we'll wrap up. Yes, Swati.
Not specifically to movies, but my larger point is, like you heard all of us, right? At the end of the day, whatever the story that you're telling, it needs to be a good story. Whether it is for the cinematic experience in a theater, or you're making a OTT series, or you're making a music video, WhatsApp, viral, whatever. At the heart of it, it is the story. And like Namit said, Supan said, there is a bunch of champions you put together, and that's where that magic happens actually. When you have the right set of people coming together to create something that they believe in. I was just joking with Supan that har show ke kitne mai baap ho sakte hain. So it is that, right? You need to have one person, one vision, and everyone jumps onto that vision. That's where the purity of content happens. That's where the magic happens. I think in all our experiences and whatever we've done, whenever you try to create something from the purest form and get everyone aligned, you get a hit. There is no formula. The data can only guide you. There is your gut, there's your intuition, and there's your hard work that can bring stories together.
That's like the formula is dead, long live the formula. So thank you so much, all of you. That was a very insightful conversation, and unfortunately, we didn't have much time, so we had to restrict the number of questions, but thank you so much. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and they're here if you want to ask them any further questions outside. We're not having a Q&A, but they're around in case you have any other questions for them.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Please give them a big round of applause for this wonderful session. Thank you so much. And, you know, I mean, we just have 24 hours in a day. We have so many questions to ask, but then we can't fit all of them. I'll quickly request all of you to kindly please wait on stage. And I'll also request Mr. Kaushik Izarda to kindly join me over here on stage and hand over the token of appreciation to all of them. Can we please have a huge round of applause for Mr. Kaushik as well, please? I'll request him to hand over the token of appreciations to all of them over here before we do a group photo with all of you together. And ladies and gentlemen, please make some noise. This was a very fascinating panel indeed. I'll request all of you to clap loudly, please. Thank you. Forward, please, and pose for a group photograph. All of you together, please. A little forward for our photographers over here, please. All of you. Thank you so much. And ladies and gentlemen, on that note, can I please request all of you to clap loudly once again for this very fascinating panel full of knowledge, expertise and insights. Thank you so much.